Hello, hello. Welcome into the show. We are back. We are in December. The fantasy playoffs are right around the corner. One more week of the regular season. Hopefully, you've locked up your first round buys. Shout out to Cows in the Discord. He's a big proponent of the first round buys. I know some of us were going through this week, kind of going through kind of how many buys we had. I know I got 5 locked up. With I want to say like 5 or 6 more that could go either way depending on some results this week. I got some teams on the bubble, kind of on that fringe, like 5th, 6th, 7th playoff spot, including a couple of my redraft leagues, dude. Like I don't want to complain about my redraft leagues, but my home league, dude, I'm 3rd in points scored, and I'm currently 7-6 and 7th looking on the outside in, and I need to win and get some help. And it's like I'm just getting absolutely ran through in that league, and it's infuriating, but it is what it is.
I have 2 home redraft leagues, and one I'm in 10th and one I'm in 2nd. It's the polar opposite teams. I don't know.
It is what it is.
I think the one I'm in 10th, I think I had Omarion Hampton, Alvin Kamara, like
that'll do it.
A bunch of guys that are injured. So unfortunate. Jaden Daniels, the list can go on. But yeah, I'm just not feeling redrafted anymore as much anymore, but it's fun. I love doing the sometimes we try to do a live draft. It hasn't been for a little while, but like that's the fun part.
Dude, the live draft with back in the day, we used to have like a draft board with the stickers, and you put the stickers up when you went to make your pick. Like, that was the best part. The thing that I love redraft, but the thing that sucks about it is like if your team gets injured and you're just like you're out of it, there's nothing that you can do to because like in Dynasty, you're like, okay, my team sucks this year. Like I'm gonna try to get some picks. I'm gonna try to, whatever it is, right? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to just go in for a tank to get a better pick for next year, and my team will be back. In redraft, like you don't get that. You just have to restart. It's a lot of like luck.
Yeah.
And this year's been bad with injuries, and not to complain, but
that's definite. So hard. You can work the waiver wire, like you can't do anything. But if you get injuries to big guys and they're out a couple weeks, you are so screwed, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really close a lot of times, and a couple losses just puts you in the wrong spot. But yeah, I'm not certain how many buys I have. I was going through, and last night I was counting, but like some of my teams were better than I thought when I went in, and some are very bad. And I have quite a few that are on the bubble. I think I have more on the bubble than I would like that are getting buys. So there are a couple, though, that I've turned around that I'm like, all right, that's pretty impressive. I think 2 years ago, I took one orphan from Ron, and that team is first now. So like those are the ones that hold tight to the heart.
That's the one. That's the one you print the roster and the standings off, and you hang it up on the fridge, and you show the wife like, look at this.
Kind of like
look at what I did.
Yeah, or you hang it up on your wall, and if you get a belt like that. So,
okay, look at us. Look at what we can do. Dreams come true. It's like that Kevin Garnett. Like anything is possible when the
anything's down. That's right. Anything's possible. I'm moving on in Scott Fishbowl, and anything's possible. I'm coming for the finals.
Hey, you made the playoffs.
I made the playoffs. And I'm through week 2. So
that's exciting. There's some good people in our Discord that are like in the top like 100. I think Greg in the chat, I know he's up there too.
Yeah.
I think Wes is also in the chat. I think he's up there too. I know you guys were talking about it. Like you guys are
Wes and Greg and Mitch and Dan and like a bunch of guys from Kevin Coleman from the W Royale. I think all of us are it fluctuates a lot by week because they do your average score plus your score from the week. So that's why like you can shoot up the score, the rankings. Like I think after week 1, I was like top 50. And then this last week I was like in the hundreds, but the first couple of weeks you just want to get through.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So hopefully you guys win. I know I went through because we did a fantasy effect best ball championship thing. We're playing for Zay Flowers jersey and some charity. Going through dude, Holler. None of your teams made it, man.
No, they're all so bad.
I had one out of the 3 that is looking to be in good shape, but we shall see. We'll keep you guys updated. maybe
Yeah,
post
we'll
something on Twitter. But
yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
post something and see if we can get a little bit of a update on the scoring last week going into the last couple of weeks.
Yep. All right. Let's hit on some injuries real quick before we get into some of the rookies that have kind of disappointed us this year. Justin Herbert is the first one, right? Broke his hand. It's his non-throwing hand. Apparently, he had surgery on Monday. They don't know if he's going to miss time or not. I would assume since it's his non-throwing hand, he probably plays. Uh, he came back in against the Raiders this weekend, and you could tell it was like it wasn't quite right. Like he had his like hands like all like taped together because he couldn't like hold it up. So we'll see. Are you worried about Herbert at all? If about him either missing time or if this impacts his ability to, if you have him on like your playoff teams, are you a little worried, or do you feel like he's nothing too bad?
So what's up, Coach Dan? Thanks for jumping on in the chat.
Welcome.
Love it. Good to see you. But yeah, I would say I'm a little bit worried. They're playing the Eagles, and obviously their defense is pretty up and down. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to, like, I'm a little worried because he could re-injure. He just had surgery on Monday, so I'm a little bit worried. I think it's a possibility he doesn't play, but I think they're gonna try to like do anything possible to have him play. They need to win. They're still in the hunt for the AFC West, so I think they need him to play. But I do worry about a re-injury or a some kind of thing that will put him out longer. But thankfully, it's the second. It's the sorry, not the second, but the his non-throwing hand. But I am worried. Yes. Hopefully, you have a third quarterback.
Yes, I know, and I kind of get the feeling that he's gonna play. When they had to put Trey Lance in the game, like it was pretty apparent they didn't let him throw, and they weren't gonna let him throw. I think on multiple third and longs, they just ran Kamani Vidal and just were like, we're gonna get it or we're not, and we're not letting Trey Lance turn this ball over. So that tells me I think Herbert will play. I don't know. It's not like they can run the ball, so he doesn't like go under center anyways. Because with
And
the
also
offensive line, but
I do worry about the pass catchers though, right? I think that if Hampton's back, I think they're going to run the ball a ton with both of him and Vidal, with Hampton and Vidal, and so I worry about the pass catchers. I'm sure Keenan Allen will be a thorn in the side, but I worry about Ladd. So I think the trickle down effect is a little bit more than if Herbert's playing or not. If he does play, though, I think they're going to run the ball a ton, so it's going to be probably a mediocre. And then also, unfortunately, it's a Monday night game, right? So it's going to be hard. You can either have to roll the dice and hopefully he plays. And if he doesn't play, hopefully you have Trey Lance, unfortunately, or just to have that number there, or hopefully you have another, you put somebody in your super flex for Herbert.
Nothing strikes more fear into my heart than like a playoff spot in the line and having to put Trey Lance in.
I have one last night that I put in, and I think I have some Patriots on it, and so I think I have like Drake May and like a couple other guys, maybe Diggs as well, and they're on bye, and I'm like, well, shit, I have one quarterback, and I'm trying to fight for. I can't remember if it's a playoff spot or I'm hoping I'm fighting for it's the one I'm thinking of. I'm hoping I'm fighting for a bye versus missing the playoffs. So there's I really hope they fix up the schedule next year. They can't have buys on week 14. Come on, they got to understand that
did
week
it
15,
last year too. And
I know but they got to understand that fantasy playoffs start on the week 15. Like they got to understand.
I know it. You would think with as much money goes into fantasy football that they would take some consideration, but I don't know. They don't seem to care. They get their money either way.
Exactly.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has a ankle injury. He left early in that Thanksgiving game, and now he plays tomorrow night. He hasn't practiced. They get Dallas, which should be a pretty good matchup if he can play. If he doesn't, I'm a little worried about my Jared Goff shares. If Sun God's out, Laporte is down, Brock Wright, who isn't great, I'll admittedly, but still, it's another option. Like it's basically JMO, and that's about it for Goff. The Cowboys' defense has been better against the run lately. They've actually been playing better just in general. So I'm a little worried that I guess it is in a dome. So there's that. But Goff has been kind of up and down lately too. I'm a little worried about him just in general. The whole
Yeah,
Lions offense feels a little wonky.
Yeah, like if Gibbs doesn't blow up and majority of it is pass catching, right? Receptions. I just think Goff's going to be brutal this week. But yeah, like Tesla, I think if you have some Tesla and you are, have some buys, I do think it's possible he gets in the end zone again, right? So obviously Dallas doesn't have a great defense, but they've been playing way better. I could see them beating the Lions here with some injuries. Yeah, and just I don't know for sure, but I think the Lions are already out of the playoff picture. So I think Goff will be fine because of the Cowboys defense versus losing people. But of course, without Amon-Ra, the offense is totally different.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention too Khalif Raymond, who's albeit not great. He's out too, so he's at least a reliable face in that Detroit offense. It's a little.
Well, a guy named Tom Kennedy popped up in the game last week.
Tom Kennedy is. I know him from preseason DFS. Dude's a baller in the preseason. I don't know how he looks against first stringers in real football, but that's a different story. And then Drake London too. He's got a PCL. I guess he's not practicing still. The Falcons are 3 games back. Yeah, dude. I know. I've made that joke so many times. It's like he sees Kirk Cousins, he just goes, nah. He's not feeling right, coach. I'm not doing this. They're 3 games back in the division too. Like I don't think they're in a spot to get the wild card. Like realistically, do the Falcons just shut him down for the rest of the season? Like there's no if his knee's not right, there's no reason for him to come back and play, right? Like is that crazy?
Possible.
Thinking?
I do think obviously I don't know if they would think of it this way, but the Rams have their first pick, their first round pick. So obviously, they want to not continue to lose, right? So that would be my only pushback on if he gets shut down. 3 games back, I don't really think they could turn that around. So it is possible, right? So if you have Drake London, you got to be a little bit worried if he's part of your stretch run, right, in the playoffs. That's unfortunate, but I think there's still a possibility he comes back. I don't know exactly the severity of his knee injury. I think also, he's not playing because it's worse than what we've been told, right? And then, yeah, of course, I think kind of what Greg said in the chat is I think obviously Raheem Morris is still playing for his job, right? So,
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's up in the air. It's hard to tell if they would shut him down or not. To me, like you're saying, it makes the most sense, right? But I still think with Raheem trying to keep his job, they traded away their first round pick. I think there's some things there that are putting them trying to win more games,
Yeah, they made a critical mistake that none of us ever do, where they think they're going to be better than they are, and they trade away their first, and then all of a sudden
I got to be honest.
Way out of the playoff.
They weigh quite a bit more in the real life than they do in fantasy. So
yeah, maybe
that was a bit of a mess up there. But man, on the flip side, the Rams are so set up in the next couple of years. It's crazy. I'm impressed how they're doing. And
dude, I'm sure you're rooting for them to shut down Drake London, dude.
Oh exactly.
Keep rolling Cousins out there. This is fantastic.
Keep losing, baby.
You're gonna get a top 10 pick and maybe go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
All right. We did some trades this week. Actually, none of these are mine. I actually did do one trade today. I sent Tyrod Taylor for a 4th. I didn't feel the need to make the graphic and put it on here. I didn't really think that was super noteworthy, but I said it anyways. Made it to the show. A couple of these leagues, though. This one I thought was interesting. It was TJ Hawkinson, AJ Brown, and Kenneth Walker for Isaiah Davis, Mason Taylor, a couple Jets. Maybe he's a Jets fan. Brian Thomas Jr. and Tajay Spears. I think a lot of that is really banking on Brian Thomas Jr. Bouncing back. But what are your thoughts there on that one?
I don't know. I feel like
when I saw it.
Yeah, I feel like the Hawkinson, AJ Brown, and Walker side is a lot better. But if you boil it down a little bit, Mason Taylor's great. Brian Thomas Jr. has been meh. I'm hoping he turns it around. But yeah, like you said, I think a lot of it banks on if Brian Thomas Jr. turns it around and then Mason Taylor continues. Like we've seen him kind of peter off a little bit the last couple weeks, but I think overall he's going to be a solid tight end, right? So I think I would call Hawkinson and Taylor kind of a wash there. Isaiah
Sure.
Davis and Tajay Spears, I don't think that equals Kenneth Walker. And then Brian Thomas Jr. and AJ Brown, I would take. I mean, that one's tough. I'd probably just take the youth there, but I don't know. I feel most of the value is on the Hawkinson, AJ Brown, Ken Walker side.
It's especially for contending teams, but I think there's there's a very real possibility that like Hawkinson is just not the same again. AJ Brown's kind of going down a downward trajectory. Kenneth Walker, I still like, but he hasn't been used the same. He might go to a new home, and we'll see how he gets used. Like, to me, this felt like they were trying to get Brian Thomas and Mason Taylor, and the rest are just kind of like a throw.
Kind of throw-ins, yeah. I mean, people can make an argument like, oh, Tajay Spears is playing really well right now, Kenneth Walker, whatever, right? But Kenneth Walker is a very much superior running back to Tajay Spears, right? So if you think of it on the whole, even if one team is, I know Tajay Spears is good, but like if you think about how they've done in the NFL, I know Spears also has been injured quite a bit, but I'm firmly on the Kenneth Walker side, right? So, but I'm with you, right? I honestly, it's not terrible at all. Like, it's not like, wow, you shouldn't have made that trade. But I feel more the value is on the Hawkinson, AJ Brown, Kenneth Walker side. So I think it really would depend on like how Mason Taylor is kind of next year and the year before, and if like TJ Hawkinson falls off, then I think it's an okay trade.
Yeah, and Tajay Spears, like just anecdotally, he won people the Best Ball Mania from Underdog's Best Ball tournament last year because he was like the running back one the last 3 weeks of the season in the fantasy playoffs. I'm not saying he does it again, but you just never know. He does have it in him, I guess is the point there. He has a little bit of juice, and Tony Pollard just kind of sucked. So
he's been brutal.
Maybe Spears can be something. The Titans' offense has been horrendous, but we'll get to Cam Ward in a little bit, but I think there's maybe some brighter days there. And this other one I did here, I didn't do it, but it was happening in a league. Jaden Daniels, Travis Hunter for Marvin Harrison and Joe Burrow. I pretty clearly like the Harrison and Burrow side here, but I'm curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth. I like the Burrow and Harrison side better, obviously, right? But if Travis Hunter could, pick a side of the ball, and if that side was the offense, and we know what he can do, I just think when he plays both sides of the ball, he's going to get injured more, right? And so, and then I think there's more upsides to Jaden Daniels with his running. But when Joe Burrow is healthy, he's a easily top 5 quarterback, right? So I think when it boils down to, I would rather have Harrison than Travis Hunter. That's why I'm where I'm at. I think I'm, but it's always great getting Jaden Daniels with the upside there. But unfortunately, you can make an argument for all 4 of these players, but to me, there's more risk on the Daniels and Travis Hunter side for sure.
It's funny that I think we all kind of just like instinctively say there's more risk with Jaden Daniels, but like Joe Burrow hasn't exactly been the picture of health.
My risk,
I think he's had like 2 seasons. Actually, not even 2 seasons. I think he's had like 1 season where he stayed healthy like the whole year.
Yeah, I have one league where I have Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and I always feel like, oh, sweet, I'm going to be great.
I believe
the last couple of years,
it's not in the playoffs.
Yeah, the last couple of years, like Joe Burrow's injured this year. Lamar Jackson sucks, and Joe Burrow's been injured as well. Like, goodness gracious. But honestly, the most risk there, in my opinion, is Travis Hunter. Like, we don't know exactly, what's going to happen, and if he continues to play on offense and defense, to me, it's going to be tough to even him be usable in fantasy just because of the injury risk. You never know how many catches he's going to get a game, how many snaps he's going to get a game. So just to me, there's just so much risk with Travis Hunter.
He was very nice to play in your like DB spot on IDP leagues. I have a league like that, and it was pretty nice because even on a bad receiving game, he still outscored most of the corners out there. So, but that's kind of whatever. And then you made a trade too, right?
I made a trade with Wes in the chat. I think it was last week.
Let's go.
I think that team is not in the playoffs at all. So I traded away Dak Prescott and a 26 second for a 27-1 Tyler Shuck and Torrey Horton. So if any, basically just trying to get a first for Dak Prescott. At the end of the day, I didn't love the trade, but my team's not really great. I think it was a startup last year, so just trying to bank on some of those 26 and 27 picks. I don't think Torrey Horton or Tyler Shuck's going to be much, but it gave me, a little bit back if I needed to use Shuck, and so.
Tyler Shuck actually hasn't been that bad.
He has not.
Not that he's been great, but he hasn't played like horrendously bad. Which feels weird to say. They're in a position too where I don't know if he's done enough that like they won't take a quarterback, but maybe if they don't like love one of these quarterbacks, maybe they're trying to wait until Arch Manning comes out in 27. If they don't want to take one of these QBs now, and they say, well, maybe we can build up the roster, because that roster's in just a total state of just nastiness from when they kept kind of kicking the can down the road, trying to just compete when they weren't competitive. All that's to say, Shuck might get another shot at starting next year, and if he does, then you got an extra year of a starting quarterback there. The thing I always like to look at too when you trade away like Dak, it's not just for the first. You also made your own first better, right? So like you can increase the value of your own pick of the caliber of player, which could hopefully turn your roster around. I don't mind it. I think the value is definitely on the Dak side, but I don't mind
totally. That's why when I was talking about it, I was like, ooh, I don't love this as much as I did when I hit accept. But I think it was a fine trade, both sides, right? I think also depends on, a lot of times the quarterback market is very dependent on your league. So like if you go out and you try to trade a quarterback and you get nothing, sometimes you're going to have to not get as much as you think you would, right? So it just depends on the league.
Dak has been kind of always undervalued too. Like for what he produces, it doesn't seem like people want to acquire. And I don't know if it's because he's older. I don't know if it's just because like people hear Dak and they're just like, oh, he kind of sucks. I don't know, but like he produces for fantasy.
Every year, as long as he's healthy.
Yes, exactly. As long as he's not injured. But all right. Into kind of the meat of the show. So the idea here is there's a bunch of rookies that
doesn't say QB 11, unfortunately.
It does not.
Dang it.
We can. Sorry for.
I think I need to change
my.
I think I need to change my hot take. Unfortunately.
We might. That one might not have panned out. I want to start with Cam Ward though. So. He was about a mid-first. What was he going? Like kind of 107 last year, I think is kind of the general area he was going. So like you didn't have the highest expectations for him, but like you also, you spent a good pick on him, right? So you're kind of hoping he was going to do better. I think I was kind of looking at some of his numbers recently. I think he's played a lot better. So they had a week 10 bye. His adjusted completion percentage. And for those of you who, if you're listening and you don't know, that basically factors out like throwaways and like plays where maybe a receiver drops the ball. It's to kind of help give a more like meaningful stat of like how accurate the quarterback is essentially. His adjusted completion percentage went from 67% before the bye, which is pretty bad, up to 76.9%, which is pretty good. His NFL passer rating has gone up to 87. It was all the way down at 71, which is pretty bad. So the last 3 weeks, like this last week against Jacksonville, he had kind of a rough game, but he had a couple good games before that against Houston. And then I want to say, was it Detroit? And I should have had his stat log pulled up, but it was someone else that was a pretty good team. He's playing a lot better. He's throwing the ball around. I kind of was looking at comping him to Caleb Williams last year, and they're very similar yards per game. I think through this week in the first 13 games, I think Caleb threw for maybe like 100 more yards or so. Like not a terrible amount. Completion percentage is right about the same, right around 60% for the season. So like, I actually feel like it's pretty impressive that Cam Ward's done this, considering like look at who he's throwing to. Like Calvin Ridley is supposed to be their guy. He's been injured all year. He's only played a handful of games. Cam Ward's been throwing to day 3 guys and Kyle Manor, Chimere Dike, Gunnar Helm at the tight end position, and then he's got recently undrafted wide receiver Xavier Restrepo that he's throwing to. Like, he has no one. He's got a bottom 5 offensive line. The run game's been crap, and he's getting better. And like, for me, I've been fairly impressed with how he's looked the last few games, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I know you and I both weren't the biggest Cam Ward fans going in to the season, but I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are on Ward.
So yeah, you kind of took my intro, but I was not.
Sorry.
You're good. He was not somebody I was like, I want to get this guy on my team. I think he's going to be really good for fantasy, etc. I think he's going to be a fine NFL quarterback. I just don't think he's ever going to, put up the numbers to be a fantasy stud or anything like that. I think it's possible. And I think the main reason I think it's possible is the growth we're seeing, and the people or the players he's throwing to right now are all subpar, right? So if they can get a head coach in there, maybe even a better GM, if they can turn some things around, I like the trajectory of Cam Ward, right? I like the growth. I think he's doing well. I do think kind of his arm strength really isn't there to be like a top quarterback as a fantasy guy, right? He's not going to throw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, it could be there.
He can.
Yeah, it could be there, but I would need to see like a couple weeks of that, right? So I think he'll be a QB2, like back end QB2 for his his career, and be fine for a bye week guy. But for me, he's not a guy that I would draft and start up or things like that.
That's okay. I mean, that's fair, and that's probably more realistic. Maybe I've been drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit. I kind of feel like he could be not like Kirk Cousins, but
that's exactly the guy. Okay, that's crazy, because that's exactly the guy that I was thinking of. I'm like, okay, he's probably going to be like a Kirk Cousins. He could probably have a couple really good years and go up and down. Like, obviously Kirk Cousins has had his solid years, right?
Yeah,
but he's just been a fine quarterback, right? And nothing to be happy about in fantasy. But he's been good and he's serviceable, right? And so that's kind of what I think of Cam Ward, right? I think there's some more upside to Cam Ward than Kirk Cousins ever was. So if they can put some wide receivers around, I think right now he's got some okay guys, but really nobody that's going to help him, right? We don't have guys that are going to get yacked. We got it's really and Wes in the chat says DK is a stud, and he's doing great, right? But I think a lot of that's coming.
He's real fast
from punt returns and kick returns and things like that.
Let me ask you this. If you, in this situation, you are not in the playoffs, and maybe whoever has Cam Ward is, let's just assume that happened somehow. Cam Ward or Kyler Murray?
Ooh, that's a
bad example because Kyler's hurt, but let's just just in
it
general,
is because you're not going to move. But I got you. I'm going to do Cam Ward because I think Kyler needs to go to a new team, right? And I think Kyler Murray is like on the roller coaster down, and then Cam Ward's on his way up, right? So if you think about stocks, one's down, and I think Cam Ward's stock is up versus Kyler Murray is like really bad. And I think even if he were to go to another team, he's still going to have the same issues. And because I think for me, I think it's a work ethic thing versus anything. I don't really think it's
Kyler has
coaching and things like that. Yeah. So, I'm going to take the guy that I think can elevate to, a possibly back end QB1 versus a guy that's probably going to forever stay in that QB1 area.
Yeah, I like Cam Ward. I think the kind of his story, if you're not familiar with it, he was I think he was a 1-star recruit out of high school. He went to Incarnate Word, he transferred to Washington State, played really well there, then transferred to Miami. I think people know him from Miami when he was, a Heisman contender. Every year, basically, though, he's gotten progressively better. He was kind of overlooked as a high school kid. He just he went through different programs, made his way up. And then what I've seen these last 3 weeks from him, he's continued to improve. It tells me so much of the quarterback is can he work hard and get better? And I think we've seen that kind of him throughout his collegiate career. I think that says a lot. And if we can get him an offensive line that doesn't suck and maybe just like one or two like reliable receiving options. I think he could be a solid QB2, and I would take that over Kyler. The other one I was curious about here, and the stranded lessons, he's going to kill me, but Trevor Lawrence or Cam Ward, who would you take there?
Woo, man. Again, I think I'm going to go with the upside, and I'm going to take Cam Ward. I spent time like crapping on him, but the funny thing is I just pulled up keep trade cut, and the three guys we've talking about are all like right next to each other. Trevor Lawrence is QB 20, Cam Ward's QB 21, and then Kyler Murray is all the way down at QB 25, right? So yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same argument with Kyler. We know who those guys are, and Cam Ward still has the ability to get better. Like if the offseason, if Tennessee does nothing, then I may have flipped my script and be like, okay, I'll take Trevor Lawrence instead. Right. But if today I had to make that choice, I'm going Cam Ward.
Yeah. Other name, Davante Adams for Cam Ward. I know that's a little tricky sometimes in Superflex leagues trading, but like if your team is out of the playoffs and you somehow have Davante Adams and you need a quarterback, would you make that deal? Or are you gonna ride Davante? Because he is 32.
Yeah, so
I don't know how much. I don't know.
If that gets
done. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I would do that trade, right? Because you always want to move a veteran on a team that you're like. To me, I would do that just simply because of the age gap, right? Like now I have a guy that's only played is his first year, right? I think he's going to get better. Maybe Davante Adams has another great year next year, but really, I think it would more think about if you're like on the back end of like ranked 11th or 12th, then yeah, do that in no second. But maybe think about it if you're closer to like, just on the outside of the playoffs.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I would definitely do that if I was in that spot.
So for context, Fantasy Calc actually has Cam Ward ahead of Davante Adams. So I don't know.
I don't think it gets done. I was just thinking like you probably need to add to Davante Adams to get.
You have to have like a perfect situation for that, though.
Yeah,
like you have to be like
maybe
you were a contending team that's kind of started to decline, and you're trying to reset, and another team is like kind of maybe they got better than they thought they were going to be, and they need Davante Adams to help win the championship. Then you can kind of get to a situation where that might make sense, but it's not going to be every situation. And I think that's important context to remember when we give trade ideas is that every league's different, right? It's not the situation's not going to always work itself out. There's just kind of ideas to explore. And maybe it's not Davante Adams. Maybe it's I don't want to say JMO, but maybe it's like a JMO or someone else that maybe you're like, oh, I don't have them, but I have, and you can kind of start a conversation. But JJ McCarthy,
it's a great photo you picked.
Yeah, I found that one because I love it, and it's been the face of the internet the last couple of weeks. Dude,
Woo!
Are you out on McCarthy, or do you still have a sliver of hope? And I'll tell you a story in a second.
Unfortunately, I can't be out. I have too much. I have to root for the guy. So I'm gonna give it a little more time. I think just a lot of bad luck, but also a lot of bad play. But add bad luck and bad play, and he's gonna be terrible. So I am pretty worried, but I'm not out. Right, I have maybe a couple % of hope still. But man, like I saw a stat. I think it was in the Discord, like of the quarterbacks that have been good with
Kevin
O'Connell, and then the quarterbacks that haven't. Right, so I don't know. I'm like, how can it be when you have Justin Jefferson? Like I've got a lot of questions and a small sliver of hope.
There's been some weird stuff with Jefferson and Addison and some of those guys that the vibes are bad in Minnesota, and I'm not sure. Obviously, I know it's not like McCarthy's been bad, but he's played 6 games as a NFL quarterback, right? Like 2 of those were actually okay, right? Like the Chicago game and the Detroit game that he played, like he threw 2 touchdowns in both those games. Yeah, he threw an interception. You kind of expect the interceptions to be there as like a young quarterback. Like, he can kind of get away with that a little bit. The problem is like the yardage has been horrible. He's just been it's like some of like the decision making's been really bad. He's taken a ton of sacks. Part of it too is like I think the offensive line's not doing him any favors.
Yeah.
I think Kevin O'Connell made a weird comment when Max Brosmer started about like how it was nice to have someone who was like prepared to start, which gives me some like red flags on McCarthy. Is like, does he not like prepping the right way? Is it because he used to have a guy at Michigan tell him what the defense was going to run, so he knew he didn't have to study? I don't know what's going on, but it's a little concerning. The thing I kind of thought I was all the way out on McCarthy, but then I get a trade offer just yesterday, and someone tried to get my JJ McCarthy, and they sent me Michael Penix in a third, and then I realized I'm not out, baby, and I kept McCarthy. I declined it, and I might regret that later, but part of it is I don't like Michael Penix, but
there's no way. Like Michael Penix is going to be just as bad as JJ McCarthy right there. I think they're, and yeah, like Greg in the chat, like, I mean,
yeah,
Brosmer was absolutely terrible. So like, so good the prep did, like, I don't really know what to think of that quote and things. Like, obviously I think he's pretty safe in his job, right? They're having I think it was a kind of a bad team decision to go away from Sam Darnold after he had such a good year. I know it was tough to make that decision. So honestly, I can go back and say that was a bad decision to draft JJ McCarthy, but beside the point, like, give the guy a little more, work and more game time, right? And I think if we could see more game time, like at least double digits games, then we can make a better assessment. But right now he's really, really struggling. It's like, just get the ball to Justin Jefferson like that. I don't know. Obviously, well, that's what I was going to say too, but I wanted to say ahead of time, like, I've never played football, so I can't really go and say it's not that hard because I don't know. But like, Justin Jefferson's really good, so just try to get the ball close to him, and I think he'll get it.
Yes, I obviously don't know how hard it is to actually play quarterback in the NFL, but it's like if you're fairly competent to play quarterback, having the best and arguably like a top 4 wide receiver in the NFL's gotta help, right? Like, just force feed him the ball. Like, even if he's not open, just give him a chance.
Yeah. So I think part of it is with him not being healthy, right? He probably hasn't practiced as much as he could at the at the game speed and things like that, right? And so that's probably what some of that quote was saying, is like, okay, he's not really prepping because he can't, he's trying to get healthy from these lingering injuries, right? So I think that's the biggest issue right now, is like, he can't stay healthy enough to play the games and have a full week of practice, right? And so that's going to really that's not going to help anybody. So I think that's the biggest issue right now. Like, they're not, him and Justin Jefferson or any of his pass catchers are on the same page. So right now it's just all bad.
He does get Washington this week, who has a horrendous pass defense. So I'm hoping this is the week that he kind of pulls his.
I'm hoping he,
we'll see.
All I'm asking for, like, 250, 2 touchdowns. You have Justin Jefferson, give him the ball a bunch.
All I'm asking is just some level of competence.
Yeah. All right. Let me. Okay. Sorry. 150 yards and a touchdown. Okay. That's all I'm asking.
Just maybe start by not throwing like 3 interceptions. I don't know. Let's just start small. All right. A couple running backs. Ashton Jeanty. I put him as a disappointment, not because I don't think he's bad, but because of where he was drafted. So he was a 6th overall pick for the Raiders. In rookie drafts, you probably took him 101. In redraft, he was a first rounder. He's kind of that 1-2 turn. He's been the running back 14 in terms of points per game, which doesn't sound bad when you say it that way, but like, watching him, it's so bad, dude. Like, he's like but it's not his fault. Like, he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Like, there's nothing blocked for him. The Raiders are putting out like practice squad dudes in the interior offensive line. Colton Miller, their best offensive lineman, has been on IR the last few weeks. It's just horrible. Like, and I'm curious, because I think a lot of people understand that Jeanty's like, it's not that he's bad, but I'm wondering, is there a chance you could take advantage of maybe getting him for a team that's like trying to make a playoff run, because he's not going to help you win realistically. Like, he's putting up very, very subpar like RB2 numbers. And I'm just wondering if there's a buy window for him.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to think of a guy that might be
Like, okay, let's see.
like, do you think if you move to James Cook for Ashton Genty, that could get done?
I think it could get done. James Cook's been good this year. He's been scoring a lot of touchdowns. I was also thinking like Christian McCaffrey is
Yeah, I think you might have to add to McCaffrey to get Genty. Obviously, the points differential is quite a bit, but I think it's tough.
Maybe Bucky, because Bucky's back. He looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm Genty. Well, go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, right? Like, I think we talked about it maybe a month ago or something. I think we need to put a little more stock into when a team that sucks picks a player that's really good. Like, there's probably going to be growing pains. We should probably kind of, no player is, team proof, right? Like, if a team is dumb, is not building a team correctly, right? Like, and we've known, unfortunately, the Raiders have been pretty poor for quite a while now. I think they're going to get better with Brady there and things like that. Obviously, I don't think Pete Carroll is it, but like, I have faith in Genty, but I need to see the Raiders do something as well, right? Like, obviously, it's not Genty's fault, but part of it is like, if he's on he can't really train. Like, he's not going to get traded. Like, obviously, it's not his fault, but there's nothing else he can do.
I will say, like, his actual metrics are pretty good. Like, he's averaging over 3 yards after contact. It's just unfortunate he's getting contacted 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, there's so many times I've watched him, and it's like, oh, wow, how is that possible? And it's like, oh, the offensive line's brutally bad. So, I don't know. It's just all bad in Las Vegas. I hope they go. Yeah, I just hope they go heavy on offensive line. I know they need a lot of help, but in terms of like Bowers and Genty, I just hope they go offensive line.
Yeah, because I think there's, not to make this into a Raiders thing, but like like Jack Batch, like, I don't think you can properly evaluate him this year either. Like, the whole offense, like, any of the
Gino, same thing. You
can't evaluate him behind that offensive line. Like, I heard a report too that like Chip Kelly, before he got fired, like, he would call plays wrong, or he would call plays that they didn't install in the game plan, and Gino would be like sitting there trying to look at the formation, like hearing what he's being called, and he's like, "This isn't right, dude." Like,
I've heard that stuff forever with Chip Kelly. Like, I don't know how the guy continues to get
how does he keep getting jobs?
Like, it's crazy to me. But I think in terms of that, like with players like Ashton Genty landing on, and even like Brock Bowers, right? Like, they have so much upside that you want to be cautious to move them, and you want to, like, if you notice that, the Raiders don't do anything in the offseason really, then that's where you go and you try to make a move, right? But also, maybe try to flip, a Bucky or a Christian McCaffrey or a Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, maybe some of those guys for Ashton Genty. You may need to add something on that side, maybe throw in a flex wide receiver or something. And I think now you got yourself Ashton Genty, and I think there's better days ahead.
Same. And then the other one here, Bashal Tutin. I think there was some hope that he was going to take over the backfield, especially when they traded away Tank Bigsby. I think people were hoping that, like, okay, it's Tutin time. He hasn't really done that. It's still been kind of the ETN show, but I will say, like, over the last 4 weeks, Tutin has outtouched ETN in red zone carries 8-7, and then like inside the 5 carries 2-1. So like, he's getting more of like of some of the more important touches, like the goal line work and the red zone work. And then over the last 4 weeks, he is PFF's highest graded rookie runner. Take that for what it's worth. PFF grading sometimes weird. But still, like, I think he's been getting better, and it gives me confidence that he might be the guy next year. Travis Etienne's a free agent. He might be gone. And I think they like Tutin enough to kind of give him a shot, at least in a rotation. And I'm curious if you would like to acquire him in
Yeah.
hopes of better days, or if you think he's just kind of a
Nope.
ho-hum kind of.
Tootin was a guy I loved coming in. Unfortunately, he didn't land on the greatest position, or excuse me, it's like situation.
Just crowded. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, I mean, I think with the touches kind of shifting a little bit, I think he'll start to be more useful on those touches. I don't think there's going to be any type of takeover this year. But
No.
I definitely agree. I think next year you're going to have to get him now, because the second the season is over, I think his market will go
Same.
up, or his
Yeah.
price will go up, because he's a good running back. And unless they go out and pay some money for, obviously we'll have a show about free agency in a couple months, but like, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know the free agent running backs. So outside of Travis Etienne coming back, I think it's going to be.
It's a pretty decent class.
It's a good class. So as long as they don't sign a Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker, I think Tootin is the guy.
What about so Trey Benson's a guy I see that's always ranked kind of higher in like fantasy calculus. He's well above Tootin. Like, would you do that? Like, send Benson for Tootin straight up? Because I would.
I would try to get a little plus with Tootin, just take advantage of the rankings and things like that. But yeah, I would do it straight up. I just think Tootin's a better running back.
What about Christian Watson? He's been kind of hot.
Yeah, I would do the same as well. Straight up. Okay. Give me Tootin. I know Christian Watson's been good. I just it's never been a guy I've liked. Too many injuries, and I just also don't think Jordan Love's that good. I think he's fine, but not
Jordan
great.
Love's only good during Toyotathon, which is now. Dude's a monster during Toyotathon. It's a weird stat line, but going back the last couple of years, dude's a monster. Whenever Toyota does that sale thing, it's ridiculous. I'll see if I can pull up some of the tweets for some of his stats,
awesome.
But it's ridiculous.
I want to touch on Trey Benson real quick a little bit. Go out and if he plays this week, go trade him everywhere.
Dude blows.
Woody Marks is below him. Jaylen Warren's below him. This is on keep trade cut, but so give it what it's worth. But Zach Charbonnet is below him, John J. Swift, David Montgomery, Tyler Algier, Tajay Spears.
Algier's a free agent too, I'm pretty sure.
I may take Blake Corum straight up over him. This list is long that I would take straight over Trey Benson. So, but I think you can get better running backs than what I've said here, right? But yeah. So if he plays,
try to a little bit of Corum. I'm not gonna lie to you.
But the rest, I was with you recently.
But you said Corum. I know.
He's been really good recently. So.
He's been fine. Some of it's a Michigan thing. I don't really like him, but we'll see. All right, a couple wide receivers I wanted to chat about. Trey Harris, Matthew Golden, Jaden Higgins. Let's start at Jaden Higgins. I think he's the one that has the most promise. Sorry, I lost my spot on the show doc. Okay, so no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do think there's some possibility with Trey Harris. I think it would really depend on what happens with the wide receivers. But out of this group, give me Higgins for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about Trey Harris. You brought him up. So I think his stat line's misleading. I was looking at stuff today, trying to find okay, what's good, what's bad. He has a below 1 yard per route run, which is horrendously bad. If you don't follow the analytics, it's almost god awful. I think he's actually been a lot better than that. He just hasn't gotten a ton of routes. So he basically runs about 14 routes a game. His targets per route run is kind of on par with Quentin Johnson. He's just not on the field a ton. So I think he's getting open. I think he's running good routes. I think he has talent. He's just, the Chargers are running out, QJ, Keenan, Ladd McConkey, and Gadsden. And Harris really only gets on the field when they go empty in the backfield, right? And so I think Keenan is probably not going to be there next year. And I think Trey Harris is going to surprise people. You can see right there, he's 120th in points per game, which is just bad, dude.
Yeah, you probably haven't used them once, right?
You probably haven't used them once. And if you did, you probably got a 0 on your scorecard.
Yep.
And that's fine. I think he's very acquirable. I think people, because people get used to seeing oh, rookie wide receivers just immediately contribute, and he doesn't, right? Like he's down at wide receiver 62 on Fantasy Calc. Like I think you can acquire him. Like I would send my own 26 second for him pretty easily,
Yeah.
especially if I'm kind of like a fringe playoff team. I think that's a smash. I think he's gonna do better than that next year.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I know you mentioned you like
these
him, but
three are these three are the type of players I worry a little bit about Golden. We have some, we have some to back that up, but like with Trey Harris right now, it's just he's kind of buried on the depth chart. And so I think if and when Keenan Allen is done, I think he's going to be possibly the wide receiver 2 there, right?
dude.
I think QJ right now is being propped up by his touchdowns. I still worry about the pass catching there. Obviously, they're a little bit different wide receivers, but they're both big body wide receivers, right? So, but I think obviously being connected to Justin Herbert's really, really good. Great coaching staff. So he's going to be, him and Higgins are guys that I think if I, after doing a little bit of research and things, and I don't think this wide receiver class is that deep, right? So I'm on board moving a second or a third for Trey Harris.
Let me give you a couple of names. Kayshon Boutte. I lost my other name. Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, Jordan Mason, Terrence Ferguson. I think all of those guys, just kind of looking, I would trade all of them for Trey Harris because I think Trey Harris is still good. I just think he just hasn't been used.
Yeah, agreed. I can't believe Ferguson is above him.
Yeah, same actually. So I think Trey Harris is a guy that like I would try to acquire now too, because I think as soon as it's like we talked about before, as soon as the offseason hits and news of like Keenan Allen's, maybe he retires, maybe he's just not coming back to the Chargers, people are going to be like, oh, Trey Harris is going to see the field more. And all of a sudden his value is going to increase. But right now he's buried and no one's thinking about him. He was kind of a second round pick that people didn't really want to make last year too. And so I think he's probably pretty acquirable. And I think he's still good. Like I think he's very good.
Agreed.
All right, Jaden Higgins. I also think he's good. Let's see. So after his week 6 bye, his routes per game have gone up from 15 a game to 26 per game. So a decent chunk. His target share has gone up to 16% since the bye. I think the biggest thing is that like he scored 4 touchdowns in his last 6 games. He's getting more and more involved. He's getting a bigger workload. I think a lot of it is that like CJ Stroud's been injured. CJ Stroud hasn't been good. The O-line situation's been horrible in Houston. I think it's not a Higgins problem. Like obviously he's gonna be. I think his ceiling is capped because he's always gonna be behind Nico. But like, there's no reason why he can't be. I don't know, a wide receiver like 25 to like 35 in that range, like given touchdown variance, right? Like, am I crazy there?
No, it makes me think of like the Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson split, right? Obviously, I don't think Higgins is as good as Jordan Addison, right? But I think he can be.
But he's good.
Yeah, I think he can be like in the fantasy realm, right? And then so I think in the beginning of the year, they're like, oh, we got to roll out Christian Kirk. Well, I think they realized, they didn't roll him out since he was injured for so many weeks. But I think they quickly realized, okay, Christian Kirk's not it. We got to get this rookie playing more, right? And so for me, out of this group, I would go out and acquire Jaden Higgins as well. Like, obviously, I think Trey Harris is more easier acquired, like easier to
Trey
acquire.
Harris is basically free.
Goodness gracious, I am struggling on my words. But Jaden Higgins, I think, might end up being the better wide receiver. I think he could elevate into that wide receiver 2, conversation and be a very, very good wide receiver 3. I think Trey Harris, he'll more just to me is like a flex wide receiver 4 guy, but I think there's more upside to Higgins, and mainly just because to me, I feel like it's easier to play opposite a clear wide receiver 1 in the league, right? And I get Ladd McConkey could be that, but he's not the same alpha that I look at as like a Nico Collins.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about like playing outside of that is like Nico Collins is always going to attract the best coverage and the best like kind of like covered shells, right? And so that opens things up for Jaden Higgins. He's made some really good catches, like contested catches. He's run some really nice routes. He's gotten in the end zone lately. I worry that he's been kind of flashing a little bit. That might make him a little bit harder to acquire. But I do think, like, just kind of looking at on Fantasy Calc, like some names above him, like a early 2026 second, I think Troy Franklin, Wandale Robinson, Christian Watson, Cortland Sutton are all above him. Sutton's probably gonna be tougher because he's been pretty bad. But like, I think the rest of them, I think you could make a Jaylen Warren is up there too. I think that's an interesting name that I would try
because
I think out there, right?
I think he's playing really well, so his name's like, you know, probably on the rise. But I think he would even, you know, rise even more if they do pick up an offensive line or two. Maybe they spend money on a running back, you know, and then they have Woody Marks and another running back. Now that total offense is different, and now Jaden Higgins is a really, really good wide receiver 3, right, on his, and the second best wide receiver on his team. So I do think he's a little harder to acquire, but I like him a lot, and I think he's going to continue to elevate through the end of this year and next year.
I do too. And then Matthew Golden. This is the one that I'm trying to figure out a way to buy in, and I just don't see it. Like the other two, like you can kind of talk yourself into like increased workloads, but like Golden is kind of the opposite almost in that like he had a perfect opportunity with Jaden Reed broke his collarbone week 2, like on the first drive week 2. Christian Watson was out for a ton of the season. Tucker Kraft got injured. He's on IR. And it's like Matthew Golden are just kind of like waiting. It's like, this is the opportunity. I know he got hurt, but like, it's just not happening. And like looking at his role, it's almost kind of ridiculous. He's basically used either getting like bubble screens or running like a go route. And he doesn't like run a ton of routes. And it's a little worrisome because frankly, Christian Watson will do better on his deep balls, and Jaden Reed's a better player in a screen game. So it's like he is in his 2 roles. He's not even the best player at those 2 things that he does.
Yeah. I think his like it just tanked once Christian Watson came back, right? And then also I think like there's just so many wide receivers there, right? So I do think I did not expect that from Greg.
I didn't expect that
but
either.
like I just feel like he may not be it, man. Like
he might just suck.
So I mean, he disappeared quite a bit at Texas. There was games that he flashed, but I think it was his junior year on Texas. He was, or maybe his sophomore year. He was super quiet, right? So I think he ended up the year like super well last year. The name was hot, had a really good combine, things like that, and he got elevated into the first round. And so it's tough.
He ran up super fast 40 times.
And it's just tough that if you can't beat out some of these guys that, you know, for me, I think you as well, like you know, Romeo Dobbs, I know his quarterback loves him, but like Christian Watson, you know, Dontavian Wicks, like all these guys are getting more run than Matthew Golden, and that just really worries me, right? And so I know you can look at the stats, you can look at the numbers and all this stuff, but I mean, to the eye test, I don't know. Matthew Golden's not it.
He hasn't. None of the like either watching him play or looking at any of his like analytics, nothing is like giving you any kind of hope realistically.
Yeah.
And I would like real quick, I just wanted to ask like what, because it sounds like we're both kind of out, but what is like a selling point, or are you just kind of stuck with?
I mean, honestly, I don't think it's going to get done, but like I'd move Golden for Trey Harris or Higgins, right? I don't think the Higgins would get done now because they're both kind of like on the opposite way. But
I think Trey Harris could though.
Yeah, and I think so too.
Honestly, I think I would do that too.
Yeah, agreed, right? And so I don't know, like you probably can't do that, but also like I know you don't like Luther Burden, but I do. So like a Luther Burden. You know, I don't know who else.
You know, he's been fine too. Like he is another one that he's been getting an increased role lately, and he's been doing okay with it. Like
I think it's tough though because Golden is like literally buried right now, so he's not even. Oh, geez, I can't find him. Go ahead and talk because I still can't find him.
No, I was just gonna respond. So Wes had a good comment in the chat about how Golden might be a longer term play, that Green Bay drafts guys that take some time to develop, and that's fair. So like I know Dobbs is a free agent, but they re-signed Christian Watson. Jaden Reed is there. He's kind of their guy. Tucker Kraft, it seems like the offense likes to run through him. I worry that like how long is it gonna be before Matthew Golden is like a thing, if at all? Like, is it gonna be in year 4 that Matthew Golden can actually produce
Yeah.
or do something useful? Because like I don't want to wait that long for him to be okay. Whereas like it kind of feels like he's on his Jalen Reagor path at the moment.
Oh, Dreed, yeah. So he's actually at wide receiver 37, and I'm going to talk about a couple of guys right here that are around him: Wandale Robinson, Quentin Johnston, Christian Watson, and Alec Pierce. I have a hard time moving Golden for Alec Pierce and Wandale Robinson. I know both of them are playing really well, but I have a hard time with that.
I could do it for Wandale.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I'd probably do it for Wandale. He's young, but like, I can't do it for Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce is a free agent, by the way.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I just have a hard time when Golden is not even beating out, Wicks, Dobbs.
That's the thing.
It's just I don't think Christian Watson's that good. So like all these things, and he's not staying on the field. So I don't know. I don't think I'm out, but I think I would be. I'm not going to just go ship him off for nothing.
I'm getting close. I have just like PTSD from holding the bag on Jalen Reagor, and
totally
just like hoping that like, I kept hearing like, he can kind of develop, like he needs time, whatever, yada yada. Some guys just don't have it, man. And like, he's been in a good situation. Like, it's a good offense in Green Bay. I don't know, man. I'm nervous. He is in the, if I was gonna put like a bust label on him, he's firmly in there, man.
It's pretty busty.
I have a ton of Matthew Golden. Oh, he's a busty boy.
Yeah, I unfortunately do too. Like I was all about the hype, right? And so, some people never learn.
Some people don't.
I won't ever learn.
Even us. I'll probably do it again next year with some flashy name. But all right, that is what we had for you today. Good luck, everybody, in your matchups. Hopefully, you all make the playoffs. Hopefully, you guys don't kick me out of the playoffs if we're playing in leagues together. But we'll be back next week, and maybe we'll talk some playoff matchups and who's going to help you win. But appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you subscribe, like the video. It means a lot to us to help us support us. Join the Discord. I've got a good group of people down there. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Hell yeah, brother.
Peace.
All right. Peace out.